Hello, I'm here. I'm continuing to read from Christopher Hedges' Farewell Tour, and I'm wearing what one of the guys in the shelter had told me, my Freddy Krueger shirt. Yeah, he said, yeah. So, sorry I'm doing the video so late, but things have spun out of control. This week had doctor's appointments for my back. I heard again from a new apartment that has elevators in it, new building. But the person who's supposed to be helping me transfer my housing situation voucher just doesn't want to help. So I don't know. Can't call him. I have his number, his mailbox full. And that's the problem with these voucher programs. There are no, if you give us a voucher, if we've done the paperwork to earn the voucher and show that we can keep the voucher, then we should have control of it. Instead, we have to go through another bureaucracy that helps who they want to help. And I haven't had an American counselor, or I should say, either a Black American or white American. Well, no white people really work at these places, really. But I've had people with foreign sounding names, just put it that way. And it's going to be very interesting because how long will United States citizens allow this stuff to happen? When will they just get frustrated to say, wait a minute. You don't have money to do certain things, but all of a sudden, like in New York City, there's $2-3 billion for immigrants. Where did this money come from? You didn't have money to fix the subways, you didn't have money to fix the roads, you didn't have money to fix this and that. You cut services to the library and so on and so forth. All of a sudden, $2-3 billion pops out of what? Pixie dust? Because cities and states can't print their own money. We're not like the federal government. People are starting to ask that question. So we'll see what happens. Let's get back into it. We're dealing with the chapter on hate, because there's a lot of hate, a lot of bitterness. During his trial, he sought to represent himself and fire his defense attorney, David Isaac Bruck, because he was Jewish. He later demanded that the public defense lawyers assigned to handle his appeal also be replaced because one of Indian descent and the other was Jewish. He appeared in court dressed in cheap polyester pants and wearing scuffed shoes decorated with neo-Nazi codes and Klan runes. He had few friends and had apparently never had a girlfriend regularly, abused drugs and alcohol. He had held only one job, cutting grass for Clark's termite and pest control for a few months, on and off, in Irmo, South Carolina. I know Irmo. He either lived with, or at least I know of Irmo. He either lived with his mother or drifted aimlessly from couch to couch. He had gone on Craigslist anonymously 4 months before the murders, looking for companions, as long as they were not Jews, queers, or niggers. To take a historic tour of Charleston, he imagined that in the future a grateful president would pardon him. Ruth represents a symbiotic and deadly relationship between alt-right and so-called alt-light. The alt-light represented by figures such as Milo Yiannopoulos frame their arguments around the protection of Western civilization and Western culture that are under assault from globalization seeking to erode traditional values. Yiannopoulos is out. He was a gay conservative who was married to a black man, as far as I know, and was really just obnoxious. But you know those guys on the right. It's a performance. Then over time, they would use him as a gay member to say, see, we're not homophobic. We have a gay member of our crew. Then over time, it wasn't enough. He had to actually convert back to, he said, I'm converting to be cisgendered. He went to some kind of conversion thing. So, Yiannopoulos, and then he just disappeared. Many of the alt-right disavow the overt racism and anti-Semitism of the alt-right. Alt-right, alt-right, they're racist. That's all they are. Racist, and people pretending to be racist so they can get paid. And that's really a problem with poverty now. There's, because so many things are automated, and so many of us are having to work on our own doing this and podcasting and things like that. You don't know who's really racist and assholes and who's just pretending. But if you're pretending, that's what you are. That's what you're presenting to the world. Although they embrace the rabid Islamophobia and demonization of immigrants, the view, that's what I said at the top, this immigration thing is going to blow up. The views of the alt-right dominate sites such as Breitbart and Prison Planet, which have millions of readers. The softer tone of the alt-right gives racism and bigotry a foothold and acceptability in the mainstream, especially with the election of Trump. We don't see it as light. We see it as racism. There's no light in heavy racism. You're racist. The softer tone of the alt-right gives racist. Okay, we got that. It is attractive to disaffected white men like Ruth, who often suffer from economic, social, and sexual frustration. They believe they are the forgotten victims of deindustrialization. They seek comradeship and meaning, and perhaps most importantly, they long for a cause that allows them, first on the internet, and then later in physical acts of racist violence, to vent their anger and become self-anointed warriors in a noble crusade. Alt-right figures serve as conduits that funnel disaffected followers into the arms of rabid alt-right. The uptick of hate crimes seems to bear this theory out. Hate crimes in Chicago rose 20%, in 2016, 24% in New York City, 50% in Philadelphia, and 62% in Washington, D.C., according to Hate Crime Analysis and Forecast, published by the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism. First of all, the fact that you have a center like that we have to have centers like that, it's really sad. Jesse Singal in the New York Times article wrote of Patrick Hermansson, a 25-year-old graduate student from Sweden who went undercover within the alt-right for the British anti-racist group Hope Not Hate. And these are quotations from the article. The newly initiated are offered many opportunities to participate directly. A teenager in the suburbs basement can join a coordinated global effort to spread misinformation about Emmanuel Macron, French's centrist president, in the hopes of helping far-right leader Marine Le Pen. Now, what happened recently in France is the far right won some seats in parliament and the far left won seats in parliament. And they actually have to work together. I think far left one has more seats, but not enough that they can't do nothing without making coalitions. Anyone who wants to do so can help spread the word about supposed mainstream media censorship of the Muslims crime wave the far right says is ravaging Europe. These efforts, a click, a retweet, a YouTube comment, come to feel like important parts of an epical struggle. The far right, once hemmed in its own parochialism, has manufactured a worldwide online battlefield anyone with internet access can step into. And if you're one of these newcomers happily playing the part of infantrymen in the meme wars, that rage daily maybe along the way, one of your new online Twitter buddies will say to you, Milo's okay, but you have to check out this guy, Greg Johnson. Or maybe they'll invite you to a closed online forum where ideas about how to protect Europe from Muslim migrants are discussed a bit more. Well, frankly, maybe if you're really lucky, you'll eventually discover a whole new political movement to join. All of which can explain why members of the hardcore alt-right are watching the explosive success of their more moderate counterparts with open glee, unable to believe their luck. I'm just fighting less and less opposition to our sorts of ideas when they're spoken, Mr. Johnson, the Countercurrents, a publishing arm of the alt-right editor, told Mr. Harmanson. His optimism, unfortunately, appears to be well founded. There's hate everywhere. It's wrapped all around our society and it runs all through it. And you got to remember, there's hate built into the foundation of this society. We need a new social structure, a new social order based on, I would like concepts like justice and creativity and empathy and those things. But it has to be based on concepts, either way. No more just feelings, no more pretend, no more anything. Dealing with concepts that underlie. And that's where our battles will be. Some people will be for injustice. We will be for justice. And that's the way we should battle things out. Not endless arguments and debates about surface things or things just one or two layers beneath the surface. We need to deal with the root of our reality. Until next time, take care of yourself, be safe, and we're in a heat wave, so try to stay cool.